Hi guys, I wanted to give you a follow-up on last week's pellwork video. This week we're going to be focusing exclusively on the Myer Square. If you have been coming to the HEMA Club and you've been with us for a while, then you've done a few different drills based on Myers for opening sequence. If you haven't been coming to the club or you're new, you might not have worked with it yet, so I'm going to give you a very brief description. There are a lot of really good videos on the Myer Square or Myers for opening, so I don't want to get super in-depth because we're going to focus on something a little differently. But essentially, when I like to teach it, I teach it as 4 sets of 4 cuts. So the first starts from the upper right. I'm going to come standard overhow and then retrace that line, and that's your 2 cuts. And then from underneath, unterhow, upward cut, and retrace that line. So I go down and back, up and back. That's 4 cuts. The next 4, you just reverse it. You start from underneath. So you're going to go up and back, and then down and back. And now you've done 8 cuts, and that's the first half of the Myer Square. Clearly, the other half is just everything from the left. So you start from the upper left, and then you start from the lower left. And these 4 openings really are targets, not cuts, but I find for memorization and flow, teaching them as the 4 sets of 4 cuts gets it into people's minds really quickly. So I have here my pell and a backdrop. This is a 4 openings drill backdrop that Shani made for me a couple years ago, so I really appreciate that. And so it has, if you look at the outer set of numbers, that gives you your first 4 cuts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next set of numbers in gives you 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to focus mostly on that half. What we're focusing on today is Myers' descriptions and lessons on pulling your cuts, fakes. As Myer says, this is the craft, and he says that your craft comes from here. So the pulling that he teaches you in this section, he says, leads to all the deceit, the flitting, the failing, all the cool stuff he likes to do. If you have 4Gang's book, I'm working primarily on his descriptions from pages 73 and 74, and he gives us actual sequences to practice. So the first one is we throw number 1, and then we pull number 2, and then hit 3 and 4. So that is going to look something like this. So from here, I'm going to hit number 1, I'm going to pull 2, 3, and then 4. I want to come from underneath, hit number 1, pull 2, 3, and then 4. I can do the same thing if I want to pull number 3. So I'm going to come in 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm pulling each one. If I pull 4, I like to go back to number 1. So if I come in and I come 1, 2, 3, pull 1, I like to come back to my initial number 1. 1, 2, 3, pull 1. I just find that that is a more natural flow to targets I would hit in actual sparring. Myer also tells us that we can pull multiple cuts. So we can land number 1, pull 2 and 3, and then land number 4. So that would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can pull your initial cut as well. So from out here, I can come in 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple of notes on fakes. You still want to do them in front. So if I'm 1, 2, 3, so using your pommel hand, having a loose lead hand to develop the power. What we don't want to do is this. We step in and we commit our body as we're transitioning when a fake. If we're not presenting a real threat to our opponent, they might just stab us in the face or hit us. So we want to commit our sword and then our body, just like with everything else. If we're pulling an initial attack, we need to make sure that they are buying the initial threat before we switch over. Otherwise, we're not defending ourselves or closing a line. So just make sure that you are practicing doing this in front and not doing a big around you, because that's definitely going to get you killed. This should give you a lot to work on. Mess with the sequence, pull all the different ones you can think of. Do it on the left side as well. And if you have any questions, send me a message and we'll talk.